Welcome to Around Town, featuring what's happening here in the greater Concord area. I'm your host, Dick Patten. It's a pleasure to welcome you back as we now get ready for the cap and gowns or graduations in June and summertime. Although we've had a taste of it so far, but who knows? And I know a lot of people are getting ready to open their camps and get ready for the beaches and the mountains and all that goes on with summertime. So here today, now it's funny, it's not really funny, but we are now having an election coming up here in Concord. Now, first off, it's just for Ward 9. Now, if you're not familiar with where the lines are, just go back where you voted in November, but Ward 9, the representative for the state who held that position had to resign, and so now they're going to have an election. And right now, in this case, it's a primary for the Democrat Party because two people have filed. And then July 18th will be the general election for this one seat because there is a Republican and the Democrat who are running. So today is the second Democrat candidate, and that's Kris Schultz?
Just Kris Schultz.
Just Kris Schultz. And Kris has lived, of course, on the Heights. And again, Ward 9, let's see if I get this right. It's crazy how they've done it. The line goes from Ormond Street,
the right side.
East.
Yeah, east. That's what I would say, yes.
And up to Hazen Drive. Then you cross over to up Loudon Road to 106,
yep.
The north side. Then you go out East Side Drive until you hit Ward 10, which is on right near Heritage Heights. That's the borderline.
Past Heritage Heights.
It is past.
Well, on the if you're heading north on East Side Drive, on the east side of East Side Drive, it would go up to half of Broken Ground Drive Road. And then it zigs over to Hampshire Drive and Profile Avenue, just parts of that. Then Canterbury, not Canterbury, well, we do have Canterbury Meadows, Cranmore Ridge,
yes,
down through Portsmouth Street, and all the other borders are correct.
Not crazy, though.
Yes.
Can you imagine what they're going to do come 2021 or 2020 to redistrict those wards again?
Well, hopefully we'll have a role in that.
I don't know.
We have to.
It is crazy because for a while Ward 8 had Burns Avenue in this ward. Then they lost that and gained, and then part of whatever. But anyway, so if you live in that ward, by all means, Kris is going to want you to come out and please cast your ballot because it is a primary. And it's an important one because we're still in session. Well, by the time she gets elected, or Mark gets elected, or the other one, Michael, but we'll be out of session, but she'll be ready to go for the January one when we start up in January. But this session here has been an interesting one. And we've had several over the state who've resigned or something because, it's been a very restless year in the House, I think.
Yeah, lots of weird scandals and people saying very offensive,
I know.
Really off-color stuff.
I almost feel like I'm on All My Children or
I bet you do.
Days of Our Lives right now, the way the stuff going on here, or Scandal at nighttime, but it's weird. I've never seen such stuff going on.
I wonder, do you think that part of that is because some people in the Republican Party feel emboldened to show a side of themselves that is more, say, Trump-like?
Oh, I definitely think so.
Yeah, I feel like, and just hearing things in the community, my niece who's adopted, she is a Latina.
Oh, really?
And she has had some incidents of people in her school. She's a high school student, not here in Concord, but elsewhere. She's had, unfortunately, some incidents of bullying and people saying to her, see, when Trump is elected, you'll have to go back to where you're from and stuff like that. And she's like, well, I'm from Guatemala, not Mexico, and my parents are white and I'm adopted. You know, it's like any stereotype like that, when it becomes ugly as a slur and others, I'm tired of the othering.
I know.
When can we get back to the dialogue?
Well, and that's the thing. And I even said to the governor when I had him on right after he got inaugurated, he came on. And I like him as a person very much. And, but I told him, and it was said jokingly somewhat, but I said, please, if you do nothing else, please be yourself as Governor Christopher Sununu. Do not become Governor Christopher Donald Sununu Trump. You know, because hey, that's the thing. You know, he might think he's a wonderful role model, but to many of us, he thinks it's a TV show.
Right.
And I am so sick and tired of hearing all about his daughter and the other ones. It's like, oh, I feel like a daytime. Now he's over in Israel and Palestine and all that jazz, and it's like, okay, you're going to make promises like crazy, and we'll be in the hole for that. And I don't know.
It just is so inadequately prepared and still has no concept for what diplomacy is, what governing means, what statesman-like behavior might be. It's an embarrassment.
And his mouth.
Yes.
It gets me.
And I feel like because so many of the things he said are just simply not true.
I know.
It's like no matter what he says at this point, I feel so inoculated against. What if he actually says something that is true? I don't feel like a big group of us are even going to believe him.
Well, all the stuff that he promised or said during the campaign is all different. None of he's done none of it.
Right. Brought in all the Wall Street leaders.
Oh, I know.
Brought in lots of lobbyists. More privileges for the privileged.
Yeah.
And I know people who voted for Trump, and I know some that already feel like, hey, we were sold a bill of goods, and they were. And unfortunately, we all paid the price for that.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know what they were thinking of. I still don't understand some of it. I think there was some voter fraud. Yes, I do think there was some.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Where?
Well, I think it's very easy in any campaign to bring in people to register to vote. They don't live here. And I'll tell you why. Because when I was chairman of the supervisors of the checklist from Ward 8 for 27 years. And we had an presidential election one year. I think it was 1984 or somewhere in the 80s, early 80s. And I had somebody walk in. This was the last day of registration. And he handed me like 25 voter registrations. And the time had closed. It was after 12 noon. And I said, I'm sorry, I will not accept them. And, he got really hypey. You have to accept them. I said, no, I don't. And the other two supervisors were with me. And I said, okay, how do you two feel? Majority rule here. If you feel that I'm in the wrong, I want you to say so. But I said, our rules say that people have to come in person to register. And for someone to walk in with 25 registrations and nobody with him, how do we know?
Were they from like a senior's home?
Even so, we can't accept them. They've got to come themselves. They can't just hand you a thing and hey.
That's true. You know, I'm a supervisor of the checklist, or have been. I won't on election day on May 30th, the day after Memorial Day is the day of the primary. July 18th in general. What I have enjoyed is when people come to register, because that's my job. I'm one of it's an elected position, which is awesome. And I love it that we have same day registration. they bring these beautiful certificates, because we have a growing number of not just former refugees, but people who've been here long enough to have worked hard, have passed their citizenship test, and now can vote. They're citizens.
Yeah.
They bring these beautiful certificates,
Yeah.
and they're embossed. I mean, we are well trained to know what to ask for. You know, and unfortunately, there was a guy who he's probably a citizen now, a few months shy of taking a citizenship test, and he wanted to vote.
Oh, yeah.
We had all the correct screening questions there. I think it would be, not only would it be impossible under the current rules in New Hampshire, near impossible. I suppose there's some rare cases, one or two here or there across the state, but it would be impossible to have voter fraud like you're talking about, because we don't get voter registrations that way. And I think it's also important to note that the rules are written on the form, and the onus of the law is on the person who signs that form.
Yeah.
If they are knowingly committing fraud, which again, maybe one person in the whole state of New Hampshire, the onus is on them, and we know what to ask for. We know what the laws are. I think that it would be impossible for someone to commit voter fraud at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I have worked on I used to be a political consultant.
Yeah.
I did bring busloads of people into New Hampshire to knock on doors. First of all, there's no way they would have had time to have illegally registered, nor would we have encouraged them to. And they didn't have their own transportation in that way. We would pair them up with volunteers from New Hampshire and go door to door. You know, there are lots of folks in Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine, and actually I met people who flew in from California. One guy flew in from Hawaii, knowing that New Hampshire was a targeted state. To campaign for Hillary Clinton and Maggie Hassan and the tickets and Colin Van Osten, and because they knew this was an important state for Hillary Clinton and Maggie Hassan and in the governor's race, and they had already voted where they're from. Why would they risk the election for Hillary or Maggie Hassan? I mean, I hear what you're saying, but that was over 30 years ago. I would assume, knowing the law as a supervisor of the checklist, that would be near impossible. I mean, maybe one or two across the entire state because someone misrepresented themselves, but not because we as election officials would ever.
Well, this person was a city councilor, so he knew better.
He knew better. Yeah, I couldn't vote back then, and now I've almost been voting for 30 years. So
he knew better. But anyway. So the State House, of course, it's been a funny year, because I thought, well, they all did, it was going to be a real major year. Big, a lot of votes, a lot of bills coming in. It's been quiet. You know,
what do you think that's about?
I don't know, because this is what you get every week. They mail out. You've probably already seen these.
Yes. And
the House calendar, and of course we have this one here is not much, because next week we meet on June 1st, and they'll have the list of bills that we're going to be voting on and how the committee voted on and whatever. But this one here has like the House bills that were amended by the Senate. There's 2 pages of those. This blue one is the bills that have been laid on the table by the House, and you can see a whole page of them. And, you know, when we'll ever get to them, whoever knows, or they'll just find their way in the wastebasket. But it's too bad, because, you know, there's stuff there that, you know, some of them, trying to think, there's some here about annulment of criminal records relative to parking for people with disabilities. That's my committee that did that. Applying to the United States Congress to convene a special unlimited convention for the exclusive purpose of proposing amendments to the federal Constitution.
Interesting. Depending on which way that goes.
Then, of course, there's another one about the relatives to the law regarding therapeutic use of cannabis.
Yeah.
That one there.
What's your view on that? I find that one piques certain people's interests across the state.
Right now, I'll be honest with you, I am not in favor of it. I want to look into more of it because my feeling is that once you open the door, more and more is going to come through. Maybe not today, but next year there'll be another bill come through, expanding it more. Then we get some more, and it's got to stop somewhere, but it doesn't. And so right now, until I see some more, I'm doing a lot of research on that. Until I see proof or whatever that it can be controlled or it can be regulated, then maybe. But right now, I don't care how much pain I'm in. I'm not about to smoke a joint or whatever just to get rid of the pain. But that's me. But but there again, like how do you feel about the casino gambling? We've had that. It got defeated this year. I don't know if that means that's the end of it, but it has been brought up almost the last 8-10 years. And now they're using the excuse that Massachusetts is coming online with 3 new casinos. Rhode Island's going to add one. Connecticut's adding another one on the Mass-Connecticut line. Maine is adding another one. I mean, so, well, New Hampshire just didn't get it in time. Well, that's because you didn't want it. Now, all of a sudden, they've all beaten us. And we've lost the horse racing. Rockingham's gone. Dog racing is gone. Unless they do simulcast, So, but we've still got the old scratch tickets, boy.
And then there are those weird, it says it's a casino when you head up to
Belmont.
Wares Beach.
Oh, yeah.
And it says casino, and there are 2 of them. There's it looked like with all this, the satellite dishes in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I thought maybe this is an off-track betting location. I don't know. And then once you get towards Fun Spot, which I love Fun Spot, great place to take your family. Next to that is a casino / bingo place.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like we already have gambling.
We do.
It feels a little hypocritical. I come from a family that my grandfather was and a member of a labor union, SEIU. He worked at Churchill Downs, where the Kentucky Derby is. And he actually had a circuit of, because they have meets and they move from one part of the country to another, and he would work at 3 or 4 different tracks throughout the year. Those are good union jobs. If we can increase the number of good union jobs and increase revenue to the state.
Sure.
I mean, we already have gaming of one form or another.
Well, I said to a sitting legislator, she's always got up there and down gambling because it's addiction.
Yeah, I respect that.
So I told her, I said, okay, now I'm going to say something to you. Her name was Patty. I said, I resent the way you make me look because I enjoy slot machines. I enjoy the scratch tickets. I don't say I buy them every day. I go to Foxwoods maybe twice a year. I go to Vegas maybe once a year if I'm lucky.
Nice.
But I said, you make me out to look like an addiction or whatever, like a bad person. And I resent that because, I do enjoy the scratch tickets. I said, New Hampshire voted is against gambling. But what about the scratch tickets from $1, $2, $3, $5, $10, $20, $25,
and Powerball tickets,
and Powerball,
and
daily numbers, megabucks,
megabucks,
cash lotto. It goes on, and then, as I said, then we have the kingpin, bingo.
Yes.
And then
we definitely
also
have that in your ward.
And then we want to add Keno as well.
Yes.
So where does it stop? You don't want gambling, but you've got
confusing.
it. You've got it.
I think the one point of contention that some people say about the gaming issue that I do agree with, we can't look at our revenue difficulties and see gaming as the solution.
No.
It is. It can be helpful.
Yeah.
but I don't know what the solution is, but it isn't simple. It isn't just gaming. That is one aspect of the, but I think those can be some good union jobs.
I mean, they talk about addiction. What the heck is more addiction than watching TV?
Speaking of addiction, I mean, we definitely have an addiction crisis. I guess we have the most opioid and fentanyl deaths per capita in the nation, which is horrifying. One thing that gives me hope, and you can tell me from your point of view as a legislator, how the debate is progressing, that people are treating this now as a health crisis and not some sort of criminal / moral judgment. Obviously, if someone commits a crime, that needs to be dealt with. We want people to be safe. We want our criminal justice system to respond. Inherently, addiction issues, though, are a health issue.
Oh, yeah.
And I think every family has it.
Oh, yeah.
My family has it, addiction in multiple forms, and it is devastating and heartbreaking. But looking with a strong mode of compassion that has a strong backbone and a soft heart.
Yeah.
People who are addicts can find a path that works for them without, to break that addiction. And I'm so pleased to hear that the state has been increasing, both in the federal level, things that Senator Hass and Senator Shaheen have done, and at the state level. It seems one of the few, possibly, you tell me, bipartisan things that has been occurring in New Hampshire because of the horrors of the number of deaths that we've had here. Where are we with that?
I don't know where we're at with it, because I know the governor was meeting with someone from Washington last week in his office about that, because they were talking about cutting the aid here or something. But there again, you got to figure out where's it coming from. Somebody's bringing it in here. It's been here for years, but somehow it's become the number one, killer. But
and there are multiple layers of that. I feel like the healthcare professionals have an understanding of how best to approach it, and I feel like we should be listening to the healthcare professionals above everyone else first.
Yeah.
They're the experts, and the public, especially the public health experts,
who
look at it systemically and say, how can we address this as a community?
Yeah.
I know that we have been wanting in our addiction and recovery services for some time, because Republicans have consistently cut. And it's especially difficult for people that are leaving incarceration. The aftercare program, there isn't an aftercare program.
No.
That, to me, is our biggest public safety crisis, is what happens to incarcerated people who then are leaving.
Oh, yes.
What sort of system do they enter?
Yeah.
Do we do things to provide alternatives to what helped them get incarcerated in the first place?
Yep.
Do we have good supportive alternative programs? Do we have health care support? Addiction, because so many of those offenses are mental health or addiction related. So we don't have a lot of. I haven't talked about why I'm running and that golden pitch. If you want to hear that.
Sure. Why are you running there, Kris?
Well, I feel like we've definitely have highlighted some of the key points, which is, I feel the number one issue facing Concord right now is this negative, toxic talk about cut, that actually is providing privileges for the privileged on the backs of the most vulnerable in our society. I'm talking about seniors, children, students, the unemployed, the disabled. I'm probably forgetting someone. I certainly would say people who are recovering from addiction, the ill in general. One of the biggest motivators, I did work for 16 plus years as a political consultant and issue advocate. And before I had a healthcare story, worked for a group called Americans for Healthcare and did other things promoting better solutions to provide affordable, accessible healthcare. Before the Affordable Care Act passed, what many of us also know of as Obamacare, I had the unfortunate experience of I had an emergency surgery and 3 hospitalizations. I had health care because it was just a few days past that 6-month limit for the pre-existing condition clause for something that I unknowingly was born with.
Yeah.
I didn't know till this emergency happened. After a year of struggling with those bills, after the insurance company denied those claims, I had to declare bankruptcy.
Oh, boy.
And what frustrates me is, well, first of all, what is awesome is the ACA fixed that pre-existing condition issue.
Yeah.
And expansion of Medicaid has helped working people. The poorest among us already have access through Medicaid.
Sure.
We're talking about working people who didn't have any other way of getting health care through the Medicaid expansion. These are working men and women, oftentimes with families. And to hear, both here in Concord and in Washington, that instead of looking at, since not everybody's covered, how can we roll back these advances we made? Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, premiums are crazy out of control. Instead of looking at what is the reasonable, smart approach?
Oh, I know.
Let's just cut, and get rid of it. I don't want to see any people face what I faced between treating their illness or financial devastation. We at least fixed that for, in our district, thousands of people in our ward.
Of course, yes.
You know, a big chunk of of Ward 9 in particular has faced that. So that is among the issues that really motivated me when this seat became open. I jumped at the chance. And I hope people will vote for me. May 30th, the day after Memorial Day, which is also the day after my birthday, and John F. Kennedy's 100th birthday. We share a birthday.
Yes.
Not that my parents planned that.
It's like the election day in July is the day after my birthday.
Well, that's something.
July 17th, I'll tell you.
And I do want to list a couple, really quickly, some folks who are also supporting me, including you. I appreciate that. The State Employees Association, the firefighters locally here in Concord, the IBEW, NEA New Hampshire, AFT New Hampshire, State Senator Dan Feltis, both of our Democratic executive counselors, Chris Pappas and Andrew Walensky.
Chris Pappas, such a good boy.
Yes, and the other state rep for my ward is Kathy Rogers. I've had her early and strong support. And Candace Bouchard, our councilwoman from Ward 9, also has been an early and strong supporter of mine, and many others.
Candace was a very good legislator when she was in. I served when I was put on transportation. She was the chairman, and she ran a good committee.
She's a good role model to me.
She was a good person.
She sure is.
But
and she is great at bipartisan cooperation too, which we have to have if we're going to fix our issues.
Yeah, I mean, I sat with her on city council because I was Ward 8 back then in city council. But you know, I think the biggest problem is that they forget the little people. The rich people, they got it made. They don't care about the low class or the middle class. Basically.
Some do. I don't want to other all of them.
I know, but there
are definitely compassionate people.
But there are some who cares. You know, I'm all set.
It feels like a selfishness.
It's like, wait a minute here. You've got more than just high up. You've got the lower classes, and they're the ones who need the help. You know, they're the ones who are struggling to either get, no, I mean, you can't say there's no jobs, because there are. There are job signs out there.
Yes.
Everywhere.
But
help wanted.
That minimum wage has not kept pace with inflation. So that's my other big policy plank is we have to raise the minimum wage.
That's right.
I say $15 an hour. That's a living wage for a family of two. Or two parents and kids.
Yep.
I mean, the rents are so high because of our property tax burden.
The housing is bad.
And it's hard to find decent housing, too.
It is. It's very difficult for people to find decent housing, especially if they have a kid, child, or not. You know, he'll let me know when he's ready. He's watching. He'll let me know. He's a good teacher that he has his whip right out there ready to slap me with it when he's ready. But
I don't know if I told you. I worked with well, first of all, I'm president of the Greater Concord Interfaith Council. My term, sadly, is almost over. It's been an amazing year. We encompass most of the Christian churches in town, the Jewish temple, the Islamic Center of Greater Concord, and we've gotten to know the imam this past year, and he's a lovely human being. We have a lot of other religions.
You got to know the what?
The imam. He is the clergy person for the it's the Islamic Center for Greater Concord.
Oh, really?
Imam Mustafa, yes, many of us from the Greater Concord Interfaith Council, he invited us one Friday. And the sermon he gave could have just as easily been given in the Jewish temple or in any Christian pulpit.
Interesting.
About loving our neighbors,
Yep.
about our care for one another as human beings. And I could say a lot about the lovely Islamic community, but our interfaith community in general, despite some profound differences in views based on religion, is really one of the best things about Concord. And whether you have a religion or not, I encourage people to look into some of the things that we do, because it's amazing, and it really is helping us all to learn to share this community.
Sure.
And what I meant to really talk about, that was a bit of a tangent, but worthwhile, is I feel from my work in one of the local churches with a program that worked with 13 houses of faith, including the Jewish temple, an emergency rent assistance program that we had to support a program that CAP has, Community Action Program, that's a one-time rent assistance program for people facing poverty.
Sure.
There were three main reasons these working parents would come and see, mainly parents, I would say 90% parents with very young children, would seek help. And it was mainly to avoid eviction.
Oh, yeah.
And usually it was three reasons that they would come to see us. One, they'd have a major expense that was unexpected, health care, or they failed inspection.
Yeah.
That's the biggest is failing their car inspection, because you know they need that car for their jobs.
Yes, they do.
And these are working people. These aren't people trying to game the system, or people, you know, this horrible stereotype that some people say about people in need. These are people just trying to work hard at one or two jobs, you know, and really make it.
Yep.
So that is one. And the other two big reasons were maybe it was an ending of a relationship, or a lapse in employment. Maybe they got laid off, or maybe they weren't getting enough hours from their employer. So sitting down with families to do the math, looking at their rent that might be subsidized. Do you know, you may actually know the better statistic. The last I heard for subsidized housing for families like this, struggling to make it on minimum or slightly over minimum wage, is a 5-year waiting list in Concord.
Oh, easily. My sister.
It's horrific.
My sister was trying. When my parents died, they owned property on Pembroke Road, right at the corner of Pembroke Road and Greeley Street, right next to the National Guard Armory. And when my folks were alive, they were on the exemption, property exemption, because they were 70 and older, and they qualified for that. But the moment that Dad passed away in January of 2014, I don't think he'd been dead 5 minutes when they put the property right back on the tax rolls.
Wow, that's tough.
And my sister, there was no way that she could afford it. But I'm telling you, it is an awful lesson to learn, because they make it sound so easy that Section 8 housing is right out there.
And no, it's not.
It's like a 5 to 8 year waiting list to get on it, you know. And so she had she had a very hard time, but she finally got accepted over to Freedman Court. But that didn't come through like they said it was going to, so she had to she left there. Now she is down at Firehouse Block, and she has a handicapped apartment, and she truly loves it there.
Good for her.
Because the rent is based on her income, because she's on disability. So
and that is tough to make ends meet.
It is.
Well, I do want to just say one other thing that's very strange for we progressive liberals in the Northeast to say, but I know you will relate to this. As a person of faith, and you don't have to be of faith to share these values, but as a Catholic, it is important to me, above all else, how do we treat our brothers and sisters who are suffering?
I know.
How do we care for people who are homeless? How do we care for the person who's seeking refuge from war or poverty somewhere else, or encountering an illness, or a young person who isn't able to be self-sufficient, obviously, or a senior? You know, I am sick and tired of are trying to balance all of these difficulties on their backs at their expense.
Oh, yeah.
We have a moral responsibility as human beings
That's right.
to not make it harder for the vulnerable,
No.
just to help the privileged.
That's
and that
right.
is the number one reason why I would really be honored to have the support of people in Ward 9 and win this
that's
election.
Good for you. Well, we've been talking with Kris Schultz, and she is hoping that you will come out to vote in Ward 9 on Tuesday, May 30th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. over at Havenwood. That's where Ward 9 votes. And so she can become the official Ward 9 state representative. So with that in mind, have a great day. Thank you to my director, Ian Schultz, and we will have Ian Marx. Sorry about that.
Hey, we're
Ian.
suddenly related.
I know. Here I am. Yeah, here I am. So Marx there, please. And we'll see you all soon on Around Town. I'm Dick Patten.